So I had this old rice cooker laying around and I thought, why not make a gaming controller out of it and beat Minecraft with it? And that's what I did. I started off by removing all the wires and cleaning up the inside. And this is how it looks after having been cleaned up. I've soldered a little prototype over here. These are just two little wires going into the Arduino, and then they're attached to the circuit that was already in the rice cooker. When I press the button, these two metal pieces touch each other. It tells the Arduino that the button is being pressed. Then it's all linked up to some code. And moment of truth. Let's see if it works. So that's perfect. Steve is jumping when I press the rice cooker switch. Now I'm gonna be adding a joystick here to be able to move my head around in the game. So yeah, I'm gonna add this one first. I've soldered the wires that I need to my joystick, and I'm gonna be running those wires to the hole that I made on the lid of the rice cooker. They're gonna run all the way down. The wires are gonna come out on this side over here. Then they're gonna be soldered to the Arduino. Now I'm going to be assigning the joystick inputs. There's also a button on the joystick. I'm going to be assigning those inputs to some keys on my computer. Let's see if it works in game. Yeah! Perfect. So now I'm able to move my head around in the game and walk forward by pressing the joystick. At that point, I was absolutely stoked. I was so happy my device was finally starting to work. Also, something else I wanted to do was to be able to move forward and backward depending on the angle of the lid. For that, I'm going to be using a potentiometer. Whenever I open or close the lid, it'll make this little part over here move, and this will make my character move forward or backward in the game. To be doing that, I'll need to 3D print some custom parts. Whenever the lid opens, it pulls the arm upwards, which makes the character move forward, and whenever the lid closes, it makes the arm go downwards, which makes the character go backwards in the game. Normally, this should work. I'm gonna try soldering the wires onto the potentiometer now and see if it works in-game. All right, so if Steve goes forward, that's already really good. I don't even know if it works yet. And oh, so he goes backwards first. When I open the lid, first he goes backwards, and then he goes forward. All I need now is to add some extra buttons, probably underneath the rice cooker over here. Some of these buttons to be able to left click and right click and open my inventory. Okay, let's see. Perfect. So I'm able to dig some dirt, right click, inventory, and the last button was sprinting. Yeah! This is it. The final version of the rice cooker gaming controller. With the buttons underneath, joystick at the top, lever mechanism on the inside. And so my Minecraft adventure began. Just like any Minecraft adventure, it started off with some wood cutting.
My first block.
In the beginning, using the controller was very tricky. It felt clumsy and awkward, especially opening and closing the lid for walking and sprinting. Aiming was also very hard, and fighting against mobs was practically impossible. I was getting killed over and over. I have to say, I got very frustrated, and I even considered quitting quite a few times. But day after day, I actually felt I was getting better with the controller, and I was starting to develop some muscle memory.
Alright, first diamonds.
I was determined to beat this challenge, and I was convinced it was a matter of patience and not skill. So I decided to play as safe and consistent as possible. I was also constantly tweaking and improving the controller. I was changing lines of code here and there, and I changed the keys for some of the buttons quite a few times. I also tightened the string on the inside of the rice cooker so that the lever would be much more responsive. One thing I was never getting tired of was the sound of the rice cooker switch. And eventually, after a few days of grinding, I was finally ready to defeat the Ender Dragon. So I packed my stuff, crafted a few Ender Eyes, and was on my way to the nearest stronghold.
Alright, so I have everything. I'm ready normally. So I'm gonna try to use beds to kill a dragon. So yeah, let's do it.
I wore my pumpkin hat to not trigger any Endermen, and the epic battle of the rice cooker versus the Ender Dragon began. I started off by destroying all the Ender crystals.
And one down. Three down. Four down.
Once the dragon had no more crystals to heal from, I waited patiently next to the center column, and as soon as it got close enough, I started placing beds, which, if you don't know, explode in the end dimension, dealing a lot of damage to the dragon. Unfortunately, I ran out of beds, and the dragon still had half of his HP bar, so I resorted to dealing damage with an iron sword. And eventually, after enough sword hits, the Ender Dragon was vanquished.
Alright. Alright, I'm so happy I've been able to make it, and I'm proud to say that I'm the only person in the world that has beaten the Ender Dragon with a rice cooker. So thank you for watching.